Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, checking your bank account, and seeing a balance with 9 or 10 zeros, only to realize that the most valuable asset you possess isn't the staggering amount of digital currency sitting in that account, but rather the exact mental framework that allowed you to accumulate it in the first place. Most people look at billionaires like Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, or Jeff Bezos and instantly attribute their unimaginable wealth to sheer luck, a hefty inheritance, ruthless exploitation, or simply being in the right place at the right time. But this common misconception completely misses the underlying truth of extreme success. The reality is that self-made billionaires operate on a fundamentally different psychological frequency than the rest of society, perceiving the world, its problems, and its infinite resources through a completely unique lens that prioritizes leverage, asymmetric risk, and absolute long-term vision over instant gratification. To truly understand how billionaires think, we have to strip away the superficial lifestyle of private jets, super yachts, and sprawling mansions, and dive deep into the cognitive habits that dictate their daily decisions, starting with their absolute obsession with the concept of time. The average person trades their time for money, viewing their waking hours as a commodity to be sold to an employer for a fixed hourly rate or an annual salary, which inherently caps their earning potential because there are only 24 hours in a day. Billionaires, on the other hand, view time as the ultimate irreplaceable resource, and they use their money strictly as a tool to buy back their time by building intricate systems, hiring exceptionally talented teams, and leveraging cutting-edge technology to execute their visions while they sleep. They understand that every single minute spent on a low-leverage task is a minute stolen from high-leverage strategic thinking, which is why they ruthlessly delegate or eliminate anything that does not directly contribute to the exponential growth of their ultimate objectives. Furthermore, this brings us to the second critical distinction in the billionaire mindset, which is their deeply ingrained relationship with failure and risk, a relationship that severely contrasts with the fear-based conditioning most of us receive throughout our traditional education. While the conventional school system teaches us that failure is a permanent mark of incompetence to be avoided at all costs, the billionaire views failure simply as a crucial data point, an inevitable and necessary stepping stone on the path to discovering what actually works. They do not engage in reckless gambling. Instead, they obsessively seek out asymmetric risk, meaning they meticulously calculate scenarios where the potential downside is strictly capped and entirely survivable, but the potential upside is mathematically infinite. When Richard Branson started Virgin Atlantic, he did not just blindly buy a fleet of airplanes hoping for the best. He famously negotiated a deal with Boeing that allowed him to return the planes after a year if the business completely failed, effectively protecting his downside while opening the door to a multi-billion-dollar aviation empire. This ability to detach their ego from their failures allows billionaires to iterate rapidly, pivoting without the emotional baggage that paralyzes the average entrepreneur, knowing full well that they only need to be right one massive time to secure generational wealth. Beyond their mastery of time and their calculated embrace of failure, another foundational pillar of the billionaire mindset is their unwavering commitment to extreme long-term thinking, a cognitive discipline that completely defies the modern world's addiction to instant dopamine hits and quarterly earnings reports. When Jeff Bezos was building Amazon in the late 90s, he continuously warned Wall Street investors that the company would deliberately operate at a massive loss for years, pouring every single cent of revenue back into infrastructure, logistics, and customer acquisition. While short-term thinkers mocked this strategy as financial suicide, Bezos was operating on a 10 to 20-year time horizon, fully understanding that true, unassailable market dominance requires decades of compounded effort, patience, and delayed gratification. This principle of compounding applies not just to their financial capital, but equally to their intellectual capital. Billionaires are notoriously voracious learners, dedicating massive portions of their day to reading books, analyzing macroeconomic trends, and engaging in deep conversations with other brilliant minds, precisely because they know that applied knowledge is the ultimate multiplier of wealth. Warren Buffett famously spends up to 80% of his day just reading and thinking, treating his brain as a highly tuned analytical engine that requires a constant diet of high-quality information to make a handful of brilliant decisions each year, rather than thousands of mediocre ones. Moreover, billionaires understand the critical power of extreme focus, practicing the art of saying no to nearly every single opportunity that crosses their desk, no matter how lucrative it might seem on the surface, so they can say a resounding yes to the one exceptional opportunity that aligns perfectly with their overarching vision. They reject the myth of multitasking, knowing that scattered attention creates diluted results, and instead they channel their immense resources and cognitive energy into one specific, massively scalable problem until they achieve total mastery and market dominance before even considering diversification. Another profound shift in their psychology is how they perceive money itself. They do not view money as a security blanket to be hoarded under a mattress, nor do they see it merely as a means to purchase luxury consumer goods to impress people they do not even like. Instead, they view money purely as ammunition, a neutral tool of extreme leverage that exists solely to be deployed strategically into the marketplace to capture market share, acquire distressed assets during economic downturns, and fund the brilliant ideas of others. This detachment from the emotional weight of money allows them to make incredibly bold, completely rational investments during times of immense market panic, famously following the exact philosophy of being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. This entire framework is ultimately built upon a foundation of absolute internal locus of control, meaning that billionaires never view themselves as passive victims of external circumstances, government policies, or economic shifts. Instead, they take extreme ownership of every single outcome in their lives, actively bending reality to their will through relentless execution and unyielding belief in their own capabilities. They do not wait for the perfect moment, the perfect economy, or the perfect permission slip from society to start building their empires. They operate with a fierce sense of urgency, knowing that execution is the only metric that the free market truly cares about. They surround themselves exclusively with people who challenge them, operate at a higher level, and force them to elevate their standards, actively avoiding the energy-draining cynicism of average thinkers because they understand that proximity is power, and you inevitably become the average of the people you spend the most time with. Then, faced with a massive, seemingly insurmountable global problem, the average person complains about the inconvenience, while the billionaire instantly begins calculating how to commoditize the solution, recognizing that massive wealth is simply a byproduct of providing massive value at a global scale. So if you are currently sitting there watching this video and genuinely wanting to break free from the traditional rat race to achieve unprecedented levels of financial and personal freedom, you have to realize that the journey does not start with finding the perfect secret business model, the perfect trendy product to sell, or the perfect viral marketing hack. It starts right now, at this exact moment, by actively rewiring your own brain to adopt this exact billionaire mindset, systematically replacing your limiting beliefs regarding time, failure, risk, and money with the empowering frameworks utilized by the top 0.001% of the world. The shift from consumer to producer, from employee to owner, and from a scarcity mindset to an absolute abundance mindset is entirely within your control if you are willing to do the deep cognitive work required to change your internal narrative and commit to playing the long game. If you found this deep dive into the psychology of extreme wealth creation profoundly valuable, and you are ready to completely transform your own financial trajectory by applying these exact business principles to your daily life, then absolutely hit that subscribe button right now. Smash the like button to tell the algorithm you want more high-level entrepreneurial content, and leave a comment down below sharing the single biggest mindset shift you are going to commit to making today. Because taking that one small action right now is the very first step on your own path to building a truly extraordinary legacy.